One of the biggest highlights from QuakeCon 2018 was finally getting to see what's in store for us in Doom Eternal after that devilish tease from Bethesda's E3 conference. Now that we've seen Doom Eternal in action, we've got a ton of gameplay and information to dissect, tear apart, and more. So let's jump into it. Doom's nothing without its arsenal of weapons, and the Doom Slayer no doubt will have some fun toys to play with in Doom Eternal. First off is his upgraded suit, which now has a wrist-mounted blade that can be used for some slicing and dicing and glory kills, and a shoulder cannon with swappable equipment, like grenades and a flamethrower, which are on a cooldown governed by this icon in the bottom right. As for the guns themselves, we've got a brand new weapon called the Ballista that fires a single straight shot, much like the Gauss cannon. But it can also be charged to fire a shot that sticks into its target and then explodes a few seconds later. The real star of the show is the Super Shotgun, which is not a new weapon, but it does have a new trick. It's got what's called a meat hook attached to it, which is essentially a grappling hook that plays into the next thing that we learn. Mobility seems to be a big focus in Doom Eternal, as not only is there now a grappling hook on the Super Shotgun that allows players to zip around from enemy to enemy, but you can now use short boosts both on the ground and in the air, in addition to using poles that the player can swing from. In the demo, the player was able to use 2 boosts at a time before having to wait for them to recharge, which begs the question of whether the player will be able to unlock more boosts and potentially spec into a playstyle that favors extreme mobility. As it was originally speculated, Doom Eternal seems to be appropriately taking its cues from Doom 2 in terms of its story and its selection of new enemies. It was promised during the keynote that there are twice as many enemies this time around, with many of the monstrosities being reimagined demons introduced in Doom 2. Such as the Arachnotron, Pain Elemental, and Archvile, along with brand new demons like the Doom Hunter and the Marauder. The Marauder is particularly notable, as it's an enemy that's clad in Doom Slayer armor, which has some interesting lore implications. Gun mods were one of the defining mechanics of Doom 2016, so it makes a ton of sense to see them make a return here. First off, the grappling hook that was on the Super Shotgun appears to be a gun mod, so we can speculate that there's probably a version of the Super Shotgun that doesn't have this defining feature. Next up, the assault rifle sports the familiar and ever-useful scope, and finally the shotgun comes with 2 brand new gun mods. The first is an explosive sticky shot that replaces the old explosive shot that would detonate on impact, and the second is a Gatling barrel that turns the shotgun into a rapid-fire minigun. One of the goals of the development team for Doom Eternal was to make sure it feels, quote-unquote, absolutely amazing every time you shoot, punch, kick, slash, or otherwise rip and tear one of the demons. To that end, demons in Doom Eternal wear their damage in a much more visible and visceral way. In addition to gun mods, we saw several more returning mechanics, including collectible runes that provide passive bonuses, like this one that powers up your next melee attack after a glory kill. The chainsaw thankfully makes a return and once again doubles as both an insta-kill and an ammo restoration mechanic, and of course, those glorious glory kills. However, we also saw a few new mechanics as well, like this extra life system that, according to executive producer Marty Stratton in an interview with VG247, essentially augments the current checkpoint system by allowing players who might be close to a checkpoint to continue playing when they die if they picked up an extra life. These extra lives also come into play in the other brand new mechanic, invasions! That's right, Doom Eternal will allow players to invade another's game by spawning into their world as a demon, and you can even group up with friends as a Doom Slayer hunting party. Not much has been revealed about this feature outside of the fact that you're able to opt in or opt out of it, but it's a pretty exciting way to implement multiplayer in Doom in a method that's beyond just the standard deathmatch and arena PvP modes. One of the most interesting quotes about the gameplay reveal presentation is when Stratton says, "We're not just making a Doom game anymore, we're building a Doom universe." So expect Doom Eternal to dive much deeper than the previous game into Doom lore, as it also promises to explain the evolution of the UAC, explore many more regions of hell, and even apparently take players to places they've never been before in a Doom game. Finally, speaking with our own Tom Marks, Stratton explained that the reason the game is called Doom Eternal and not Doom 2 simply comes down to the fact that it would have been confusing to have to refer to the game as Doom 2 2019, 2020, or whatever year it ends up coming out. Creative director Hugo Martin said it would have also made searching for the game online a giant pain in the butt. And that's everything that we've learned about Doom Eternal, for now anyway. There's no doubt a ton more Doom Eternal content coming our way in the future, but for now, check out the full unedited gameplay clips from the QuakeCon gameplay reveal. And of course, for everything else, keep it here on IGN.